In June of 2007, we purchased this hunting property and utilized trail cameras from the get-go. Our cameras at that time were Moultrie i40s and were configured with the 3-shot multi-image setting. This has the camera capture 3 images every time the motion sensor is triggered, with each image being roughly 13 seconds apart. By the fall of 2008, we had already become accustomed to hundreds of pictures with raccoons, bugs, cobwebs, and other oddities that could trigger the camera's motion sensor. However, on the evening of November 11, 2008, we captured something truly perplexing that still haunts us to this day. I will never forget sitting at the computer with my wife, quickly flipping through pictures, hoping to see a big buck pop up on our screen. I remember the series of pictures we were on being at night, so we were looking at several black and white infrared images when I scrolled past one that didn't necessarily catch my eye at first until I hit the second and third pictures in the series where the anomaly was absent. I remember squinting my eyebrows in confusion as I turned toward Amber to see if she had noticed what I had. "What was that?" she said with a shocked look in her eyes. I backed up 2 images to the first in the series as we both sat quietly with an unsettling chill of disbelief. There on our screen was a white, semi-translucent apparition that was roughly the size and stature of a grown man. I studied the image as goosebumps protruded on my forearms. We couldn't believe what we were seeing. The figure could only be described as a ghost, or as Ray Stantz would say in the opening sequence of Ghostbusters, a full torso apparition.
It's here.
A full torso apparition, and it's real.
The figure appeared to be facing or moving northward, which was left to right in the field of view. The shape of the apparition had an unusual feature about it. You could make out a head and shoulders, but it had a very pronounced hunchback, which we'll come back to later. Even more alarmingly, though, is that there appears to be something that the figure is carrying in its right hand. The infrared flash reflects brightly on the outline of what appears to be a knife. It looks remarkably like an 8 to 10 inch Bowie knife pointing rearward from the hand, with the curved belly of the knife facing upward. This is when the goosebumps went to full-on hair on the back of the neck standing up. 13 seconds later in the second frame, nothing. The mysterious figure vanished, or moved out of the frame. Another 13 seconds later, nothing. It was obvious that the figure in the first frame was what tripped the camera. The timestamp in the photo showed 9:56 p.m. The camera had been out since October, so it wasn't yet adjusted for daylight savings time, so the actual time would have been 8:56 p.m. This chilling campfire ghost story is far from over, though. As we shared the spooky images with friends and family over the course of ensuing years, more details started to emerge. One of my dad's cousins from Wyoming took a particular interest in the photos and immediately pointed out the date, November 11th. What's unique about November 11th? Well, it happens to be a nationally recognized holiday every year, Veterans Day. Just a coincidence, right? When we made the connection with Veterans Day, it occurred to us that one of the locals had shared a story with us when they were talking about the history of our property. This particular property was once a thriving homestead, complete with a 2-story farmhouse, bunkhouse, and various outbuildings all constructed around the property's picturesque free-flowing springs. The house and buildings are still standing today, but have long been vacant and are falling in as Mother Nature has reclaimed the area. This property is still referred to as the Old Smith Place by several locals, since several Smiths owned it from 1919 until the late 1970s. We were told that the people who lived here in the 1950s had a son who was killed in the Korean War. Several days after my dad's cousin had first seen the pictures and made the Veterans Day connection, he called me and asked if I've ever seen the Korean War Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C. I told him I had not, and he simply replied, "Look it up," and our conversation abruptly concluded at that. I did a quick Google image search for the Korean War Veterans Memorial, and my jaw dropped immediately. I saw the statues, all with hunchbacks from their military rucksacks being draped with a raincoat, giving them a head-forward appearance just like our apparition. What was this mysterious apparition on our trail camera? Was it the ghost of a Korean War veteran? We may never know. One thing we do know is that we have never captured anything like this since that evening of November 11th, 2008.